There's a stool with one leg noticeably shorter than the other three, and a little wooden wedge sitting on the floor right next to it, ready to slide underneath and level the whole thing out. That's basically this entire video in one image. A small, plain spoken fix. No toolbox, no screwdriver, nothing technical required to make it right. Most videos about building with AI stop the moment something works. This one keeps going past that point, into the part almost nobody actually shows. What happens when the first version isn't quite right, and how you get it there without ever touching a line of code yourself? Let's get into it. A 5-star rating tells you almost nothing about what a book actually did to you. Neither does a 2-line review typed out the day you close the cover. 5 stars for a book that genuinely wrecked you, and 5 stars for a perfectly decent airport thriller end up looking identical on a spreadsheet, side by side, indistinguishable. The part that actually lingers afterward, the mood a certain chapter left you sitting in, the moment somewhere in the middle that caught you off guard, none of that survives being flattened into a number out of 5. Most people have a stack of finished books they genuinely couldn't rank against each other if you asked. And that's not because they can't remember them, but it's because a number was never the right container for what those books actually did. This is the same tracker built out in the previous build, feelings log and all. Same core idea. Track what you're reading and capture how it actually makes you feel while you're inside it, not just whether you technically finished it. This time, though, you get to watch the process itself. First draft, flaws included, not just the polished version handed over at the end like it appeared fully formed out of nowhere. So here's the entire spec I handed to AI for this one. Track what I'm reading. Let me log how each one feels. That's the whole brief. No wireframe, no feature list, no technical spec sheet describing drop-down menus or database fields, or how any of it should actually get built underneath the hood. Just 2 plain sentences describing the outcome I wanted to exist, and nothing at all about how to get there. That gap between describing an outcome and actually specifying a mechanism, that's where most of this series lives. So there are apps that squeeze months of reading down into a 5-point rating and maybe 2 typed out lines, and that becomes the entire permanent record of the experience. The way a book actually felt while you were inside it, the parts that stuck with you, the parts that genuinely surprised you, none of that has anywhere to live in a system built entirely around a star count. So here's what came back on the first pass. It's a clean little tracker. There's a title field, an author field, a status dropdown with want to read, reading, and finished, and a field asking how the book makes you feel. There's nothing overbuilt about it, nothing that looks like it took a team to put together. Take a look at what's already logged in there. Project Hail Mary, marked finished with a real specific reaction attached. Not a rating, an actual sentence about crying at the goodbye scene and wanting to start the book right back over immediately after. That's already more useful than anything a star count can hold. Now, set that same status drop down to want to read instead on a book that hasn't been touched yet. That feeling field is still sitting right there next to it, asking a question that doesn't have an answer yet because the book hasn't actually been opened at all. It looks fine at a glance. It's only once you actually try to use it this way when the gap shows up. Nobody can size up a feeling for a book they haven't cracked open yet. But the first version had no concept of that distinction built in anywhere. It let you log a feeling right next to want to read, treated exactly the same as anything already finished. And once a feeling did get typed in, that was the end of it. One line permanently stuck to that book forever, no matter how the reaction actually kept shifting somewhere around chapter 12, or how differently the ending landed compared to how the opening pages originally felt. So, I gave it one plain language note back, roughly the way you'd tell a friend what bugged you about something they'd made for you. Hide the feeling field completely until the book's actually being read or already finished. And let me log more than one feeling per book over time, since page 10 of something almost never feels the same as page 300 does. There's no code anywhere in that note. There's no technical terms. There's no mention of dropdowns or conditional logic or state. It's just a plain description of what felt wrong the moment I actually sat down and used it. Now let's look at it again after the one note went in. The feeling field disappears entirely from anything still marked one to read. Try adding the Fellowship of the Ring before actually starting it, and the app just tells you the feelings become available once you actually start reading. There's nothing to fill in, nothing pretending you already have an opinion formed about a book still sitting untouched on the shelf. And every book already in progress can hold more than one entry now, stacked in order underneath the title. Demon Copperhead shows two separate feelings logged underneath it, one from partway through, one from the ending, instead of a single flattened verdict trying to cover an entire 400-page experience in one sentence. Even Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, still marked reading, already has its first entry sitting there, with a small button ready for a second one whenever the reaction shifts again later on. Something worth calling out here. Hand AI that exact same note yourself, and your version probably wouldn't come back looking identical to this one. It's making real interface decisions on its own inside the shape it was given, not filling in a fixed template somewhere behind the scenes. Two different people describing the exact same fix can genuinely end up with two builds that solve it a little differently, and that's expected. It's not a sign either version did anything wrong. So notice what changed between those two versions of the tracker. I never opened a code editor at any point in this process. I typed one line about what felt wrong while actually using it, and AI turned that single line into the actual working fix, drop down logic and all, without me needing to understand how any of it worked underneath. That is the real skill this entire video is trying to hand you. It was never about learning to code the correction yourself. It's about learning to describe the problem clearly enough that AI can locate it and fix it correctly on your behalf. So what does this mean for you? Next time something you built with AI doesn't quite work right, resist the urge to explain it back in technical terms you don't actually have. You don't need the right vocabulary for it. Just describe the exact moment it broke for you plainly, the same way you'd describe it out loud to a friend sitting next to you on the couch. Say what showed up when it shouldn't have, or what didn't happen when it should have, or what felt backwards the first time you tried it. More often than not, that's genuinely enough detail for AI to track down the real problem and correct it properly. The same way one plain sentence fixed the feelings field here, without either of you ever needing to look at what was actually running underneath it. If you want to see more of these builds built out live, subscribe. We've got new builds going up every week. And if you're curious about what AI could build for you specifically, head on over to eauclaireai.com. Talk with us about the thing you actually want built and watch what comes back. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.